Welcome to the Dream on Purpose podcast. Me and Clint in the car. This is Clint.
It's Clint!
Oh, on a serious note, this is my good friend and business partner, Dr. Clint Stinkevich. I'm Cannon Wagner, and this is the Dream on Purpose podcast.
It's great to be back here. When we've had a couple dry runs.
Yeah.
For athletes, where I feel like we were dropping gold, but things happened.
Let's see if this makes it to the internet.
We'll see if this makes it out there, but those things had to happen or we wouldn't be here.
It's funny because as soon as that podcast didn't go through last time, I was like, it wasn't meant to be. It just was not meant to be, and there's nothing I could do about it. And I did have some realizations through that I was trying way too hard to get you guys a message. I was too focused on you instead of realizing that this podcast started with me and Clint in a halfway house way before there was ever microphones or cameras involved. This podcast started at 4 o'clock in the morning with this guy low-key pissing me off. So I'm trying to come back to that and really just enjoy the hour or so with my good friend here.
Well, I have to tell you, I love these guys, love everybody out there, but I need you more than they do. You're a part of my recovery, you're part of my life, and I mean that. I love you. I love that we're in each other's lives, and I love that we have this, and that's really where it all started.
Yeah.
Is I need this for me, at the end of the day, and hopefully, I'm hoping the people out there, get something from these conversations. But I know I do, and I look forward to them and connecting, and got a lot going on in my personal life and stuff like that, and so it's great to kind of plug back in.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of great to plug back in and have somebody, because you really do help me kind of get my thinking back on.
Get back on that spiritual plane.
Yeah, because it's I feel it, I practice it and that kind of thing, but you got to be careful. I got to be careful, right, of the energy that's around me. And
what's that Bible quote of, like, wherever two
or more of me are gathered in my name, and there I am.
And that's really,
Amen.
Seriously, that's where it is, and that's where we're at right now. You are the sum total of the 5 people we hang out with the most, and I can tell you, I can't go as deep with anyone as I can with you, and it's valuable every time we do spend fucking 20 minutes on the phone or an hour, even with these microphones hooked up. We've been practicing, and that's one thing I'm grateful for is the past 2 weeks, past 2 months, whatever, however, fuck. I have no perception of time, just so you guys know.
I've been told that as well.
But we've been
you're
practicing.
Older than me. My birthday's come, but you're still older than me anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. But making sure that we have this time, it's cool. I hope that we can get a message out there and people get something out of this. But at the end of the day, this shit charges me up for the next week or so. This shit gives me the energy and allows me to stay in that spiritual mind where nothing can really touch me, where I can stay stoic and objective and really make logical or beneficial decisions.
Guided by spiritual principles. And I was at our hub meeting this week, and I shared. So I'm like, and it was hard for me to articulate it. And I'll mention it again here because I think it's worthwhile. I think we've had this conversation in other sort of, but it's not separate. It's not meaning, there's the prayer on earth that is in heaven. There's these brief moments of time where we feel like it is. But at some point, it's all the same. We're spiritual beings. If God's within you, you're a God. I have God within me. Mm-hmm. We're spiritual on a spiritual journey, right? Yeah. And sooner or later, this idea of earth and heaven, it isn't really necessary anymore for teaching. I feel like it's a teaching instrument in that sense. But ideally, if we're acting in accord with spiritual principles and living in that way, it's not separate. It's just not, and no. Sort of. But I recognize other people aren't at that, and that's why I feel, helpful when we get together and I can kind of, we can kind of talk about things because it's a helpful reminder for me that like, all right, this is a spiritual existence.
I'm grateful for where I started, and when I started in a very like mental fitness type of place, really checking myself and my thoughts and my beliefs, and then I realized that the prayer is not just Sunday. The prayer isn't just at church. The prayer is while I'm working. The prayer is when I'm pissed. The prayer is when I'm happy, when I'm sad. The prayer is 24 fucking 7.
That's
you know what I mean? Like the prayer doesn't just end. It's you have to bring it with you. You have to act as if it's there. It's always, you're always okay, you're good, and yeah, that's a real powerful understanding of, prayer is literally your emotional state at any given time, I feel.
It is, but it's how we live our lives from moment to moment. This guy, Pete, I'm probably going to butcher this, but he's giving a sermon about, I guess he was reading something, and I guess his village was on fire, and this guy stopped to pray. Like, we got to go. You got to get out of here. I'm like, no, we got to pray. And then he turned it around. It's like, listen, you haven't prayed until you prayed in the face of fire. Because you know what? Where I was in my life is I was kind of adjusting, to life after kin and some other things in my life where, I had to share my time a little bit more. I had my little Zen thing going on. And I had to get up a little earlier, had to do more things.
That's kind of where I'm at.
And I was like, and I'm crying about, right, like getting up at 5:50 or whatever it was to pray and meditate. And I'm like, and it hit me, that sermon that Pete, said, if you haven't prayed, right? In other words, it's easy to pray, right? Not even when the good times, people are like, thank God, thank God, thank God. Can you thank God? Can you pray when it's hard?
When your
Can
house
you
on
pray when things are going horribly wrong?
Yeah.
Can you keep the faith? Because that's where it's at. And so then I realized that because it was easy, I wasn't really praying. I was doing it, right? But unless you're tested in it, you're not going to get the benefit of it.
Let's unpack
right?
that. Let's talk about that. Let's bring that back to reality, because about 4 or 5 months ago, me and my girlfriend ran into a really good opportunity. This older gentleman, he's a millionaire. He's buying a very big property in the area and needed help. Needed a property manager, needed someone to build a brand for him. And we stepped up and we're just like, yeah, we'll do it. No problem.
That's us.
Thank you, God. Thank you. And, gave us a date for the closing, the purchase of the farm. And that date came and went. Delay. Another delay. Another delay. Okay, well, I need some reassurance here. Okay, here's a contract. We're not going to sign it yet, but this is what your job's going to look like for, myself and my significant other. Yeah, I'm going to be making like $40K a year, part-time, get a bunch of gear to be able to use in my own business, new place to live, all this, really good stuff. Thank you, God. Thank you, God. Right.
What an opportunity.
What a freaking blessing. Opportunity. Like, so happy. We just got to remain patient. Just stay calm, remain patient. And we did that. And it wasn't the easiest. Because I'm in this place of, I don't want to get another job. I don't want to start down a path and have to, leave people hanging or, make a bad name for myself or whatever it is. I just, got to make this work until this goes through. Long story short, it never went through. Delay, and then me and my girlfriend started to say, well, we're going to need some physical reassurance. You want us to work for you? We're grateful for the opportunity, but how about a loan? How about some sort of
let's get the contract
contingency? Let's do something here. Nothing. Crickets. Still haven't heard back from him. That was 3 weeks ago. It took a day or two for me to come back to thank you, God. But once I did, and once I realized, like, okay, this happened. It's not like God just didn't see this happening. It's not like the universe didn't orchestrate this. Like this, it orchestrated everything else. The birds and the fucking bees, and the oceans still got waves in them. But that I didn't make that. No, and I, you know,
Where did that come from?
I
You
had
put
to
that
sit.
there. Like,
I had to reflect for a second and say, what did I just get out of this? Because if it's here, it's for me. My life happens for me. And I realized that this gentleman, who shall not be named, he got me to see something in myself that I wasn't going to see without that. Or it would have taken a lot longer, a lot more trial and error. And through that experience, you know, you could say a bunch of time wasted, whatever. I'm still on drug court, dude. I'm not going anywhere. Everything happens for a reason. And once I came back to that spiritual mind, to the principles, and I came back to that radical gratitude,
relentless gratitude.
it gave me so much power. I started applying for better jobs that I never would have applied for.
But what's the price? Sorry to interrupt you, but what's the price of that, right? We're talking about, you know, what I could be making in a job, but what's the spiritual currency of that? How much better for you where you were able to see that within yourself, what you're capable of, the possibility going forward, right? So you see this, all things happen for the good of God. All things happen.
Yeah.
Not some things. Not these little things. All things happen for the glory. So there's no question this was going to work out. Now you could have, if we lost faith, right? We could have took this in our dark place, and it'd be only human. I'm sure. You know, we spoke, and I know it was disappointing and a gut punch and all of that.
Yeah.
But the fact that you're here now and you're able to see within yourself, how much more valuable is that than anything? And so here's somebody you'd want to say F you to. That the real thing is thank you.
Right? Seriously, and
thank you for that.
I'm not gonna go into the whatever's going on in his mind for just really thank you, because in this new job, which I got.
Amen. There we go.
They have like meetings a couple times a week about like self-development. You know, the psychology of selling, all these things that I look forward to more than the money, because those things, just like this lost opportunity, are going to carry me much further than any dollar amount is going to.
Amen to that.
You know, my character will keep me in places that my talent got me to, however that saying goes.
I don't know, I like that though.
Yeah, man. Write that, that's a fucking
Write that
down. But yeah, man.
I like, you know, there's a couple of things you said there that resonated with me a lot. Maybe like if it happens to you, it's for you.
Yeah.
You know, and there's been times again, like, what the heck do you mean that it's for me? I mean, because you know, some of this, you know, whatever's been going on in the past year, you know, isn't always rainbows and puppy dogs, but there's an opportunity. You know, there's an opportunity where I could either, you know, look for, right? If you seek, you shall find, right? If you continue to kind of keep your, you know, your foot in the spiritual realm here, right?
Yeah.
There's the opportunity. You see this within yourself, where we could have blocked the blessing by, you know, because then, you know, if I got angry, if I got resentful, if I got hell bent on trying to get revenge.
And I'm no different than anybody else, but when I do those things, I end up in Kensington. You know what I mean? When I do those
we
things,
end up in different spots.
I end up where I shouldn't be. But I'm no different than anybody else. I just take it to a much deeper, to a deeper level. And that idea of, you know, if it's happening to me, if it's happening for me. It brings me back to the first Hermetic principle of all is mental, all is mind. Like literally nothing comes from out there. Everything's coming from in here. The experiences in my life, all of these things are happening for me, through me. You know, and that, once you realize that quick saying, that bar right there of, if it's happening for me, or what did I say? God damn it.
Yeah, if it's happening for me.
My life happens for me. Life happens for you. You know what I mean? Life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. That's it. Once you have that and you really understand that and you can blanket that over everything in your life, boom, that is powerful, and that's a shift, dude. That happened in Freedom House, and I was like, okay, since I'm in this, 500-year-old house with a bunch of creatures, Should I blink that out? No. No. Remember it. But yeah, no, that
No
allowed
air
me to make
conditioning.
changes. Yeah, dude. Oh,
What's that about?
that was
anyway.
great. Yeah, you guys are gonna see that.
But but it's interesting because the minute your perspective changes, your thoughts change, right? The neuroscience of this now is I'm starting to look for how it's serving me.
Yeah.
We start to make better decisions.
Strength-based.
Here, right? These things are happening, and I'm going to choose the things that are serving me, right? Because oftentimes we can do things or act in ways that are not in our best interest. Kensington, the bar,
Yeah.
whatever, putting strange
$600 Ubers.
Expensive Uber trips to places I shouldn't be, to jam a bunch of powder up my nose and grand mal seizures. Drugs are bad, okay? So how's that going to help me? How's that going to serve me? And then I'm just, when you're coming down, or when I'm in the hospital, or when I'm in cuffs, poor me. Well, I was just, I had an opportunity for whatever I was going through that, quote, triggered, right? I had an opportunity to grow. I didn't, so I had to you rinse and repeat until you learn the lesson and move forward.
But even in that moment of saying, poor me, that life is still happening for you. You still have that opportunity. And when it clicks, I think we just spoke about it before we started recording, of that oh, okay, I don't need all the shame and the guilt because I can just learn from it. Oh! You know what I mean?
I felt like I needed to hold on to it because that was why I kept making a decision, right? Well, how are you going to hold on to something negative?
Not your cross to bear.
You know, how are you going to hold on to it and expect that to be the source of hell? It can't be, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a negative, again, it's a cross. How can it help me, right? I mean, how could this sort of, until I kind of cut it loose, right, that realization allowed me to sort of see possibility and move beyond. I don't have to do that. Who said I had to do that? Who said these things? And because, various things I might have had some negative opinions about myself. I somehow felt like I deserved these things, which isn't even me thinking. Those are conditioned thought patterns, right?
Yeah.
Those are conditioned. I want people out there to be aware of those. So much of what we do is just simply conditioned.
You have to wake up. Wake up. What is this doing for me? What is this thought doing for me?
How
is
is
this
it
helping me?
serving me?
How is this thought interacting in my reality? What comes after this thought? You have to bring yourself, even right now, this whole experience has brought me to wake up a little bit more often because you don't realize it. I consider myself someone who's more conscious than most, and not in an egotistical way, but I reflect often. I reflect in the moment of what is going on right now. Maybe how is this going to serve me? This whole process has made me just wake up, redirect, reframe, redirect, keep going, baby steps.
And that's a powerful statement. Wake up, right? Because so many of us, whoever was watching it at some point, it's the nature of the mind to go backwards, reflect on things, or reflect on the future. How often are we actually present to the only moments we have to live, which are right now? So what are you doing with your life? What are you doing with your time if you're thinking with it? Wake up. Well, seriously, what are you doing with your time? How's that going to help you now? How's whatever hasn't happened yet? How's that going to help you now? You have choices laid before you right here and right now, and the miracle exists now. This is the only moment. And
you're good enough right now.
And this is where God lives in the present. He can't, how's he going to help us in the future? I mean, allows for free will because it hasn't happened yet. In the past, isn't going to serve you either, And so often we're slaves to it, or that's what, we're in this default mode of thinking, and it's just like large chunks of your life you're not even living.
No,
You know,
you're not even.
you're
It's
spending
like you're
time.
watching a movie.
Yeah, you're watching. Yeah, exactly. You're watching a movie. Wake up!
Wake up!
Wake up!
Yeah.
Seriously.
But seriously, wake up.
You know, and it's just like you're in this, you know, for particularly addictions, a case like that. And you're like, oh, I did this, I did that. And then you're thinking about, you're conditioned to sort of think about, I got to get more money. So you're either in the future, you're in the past.
Or you're sleeping.
Or you're sleeping.
Or you're peeking out a window.
Yeah. Or you're peeking a window, you know, with the shades shut, and you're jamming socks and other sheets in there so no light could get in, and the shadow people, and then there's, you know, little noises you're hearing. Wow. Don't do it.
Don't do that.
You know, and then you'll wait, you know, and then when you come out of that, you're like, oh, man, that was... You know, that was terrible. Why they do that? So then I feel terrible. So well, guess what I'm conditioned to do? Well, if I feel terrible, I know something that can make me feel a little better. And now it's rinse and repeat.
Yeah, that
Right?
what's
And I
that
miss
positive
the,
feedback loop.
You know, and it goes back. To
That's
what
all
you were
addiction
doing.
is, and that's where like we get caught up in this. Well, I'm an addict, so I have this disease. I'm gonna have to do this. You know, this is just part of who I am, and if I don't do this weird little ritual that I do, then I'm gonna fuck up. So now I have to become this weird little ritual that I do and be all about this. And if I don't, well then the other side of that is I'm just gonna be a fucking addict. I'm a dirty junkie. When
Dirty jockey.
and that becomes part of the feedback loop.
Yeah, it becomes part of the narrative, right?
It becomes part of, okay, I feel like I feel like I have this disease now. I have this deformity of fucking my character.
I love that.
And so here, I'm going to go to this, whatever it is. I'm going to go to church. I'm going to go to AA. Instead of fixing the problem that came way before the drug use, I'm just going to focus on the drug use and not do that. And you know, I respect it if you can make that work. But in the same sense, you're not breaking the cycle. You're just plugging it with something else until the day, you know, God forbid, but until the day that becomes unmanageable. Until the day that fucking you just don't agree, or you just can't manage doing that, or you haven't dealt with any of the things that are causing you to make shitty fucking decisions. I don't know. I gotta, you know, explain this philosophy a little bit better, but I refuse to just add I'm an addict into this feedback loop circle of me getting high and fucking up my life. Instead, let's go way back and realize that all the shit that I had no control over as a kid or as a young adult or before I became aware of what I was doing that was not affecting me in a positive way, that was making me make terrible decisions. Let's go back there and figure out where I went wrong, because this has been going on for a long time, but I wasn't born with this disease. When I was a kid, I didn't shove shit up my fucking nose. Maybe I did. but still, it came from fucked up, you know, fucked up belief systems and fucked up beliefs. I don't know.
Well, there's controversy in the literature about
this. Is only my fucking...
Yeah, I mean, there's controversy about it in the literature, you know, on this issue. There is. And again, you and I have had some interesting thoughts, some very deep and interesting conversations about it, because, you know, I have an identical twin brother, and, you know, he does not. Right? I mean, if we're genetically the same, we both have, you know, what's that about?
Yeah, what's going on there?
What's going on there? And there's science on both sides of that puzzle. And the interesting thing is, the more I continue to do the right thing, now there's things like genetic high responder, low responder, all those sort of things. If you do anything enough, it's going to become a habitual pattern, right? To people who run, you know, like when I run, do I have a running problem, right? You know, if I play basketball, do I have a basketball problem?
If I work super hard.
If I work super, do I have a working problem?
Yeah.
It's sort of this idea that anything you do a lot becomes a force. So yeah, in a lot of ways,
It's a narrative, bro.
you know, and we got to understand there's a bi-directional feedback, right? I mean, first time I did, you know, I hijacked the dopamine pathway, and then I continue to do that. Well, it's going to be hijacked for a long time. So did I create the disease that I was trying? You know, I know it's built a little differently, but it's easy to kind of, you know, reverse engineer it, because I was heavier growing up, and so I did look to other things early on to kind of change how I feel. But that's sort of what we do as kids. We're pleasure seekers. We all are as humans. And once I found something that I just kind of kept doing that. That, you know, make me destined to well, my brother was similarly went through these, and he did not. So something about my choices or my lack of ability to wake up, right? I just chose to stay purposeful, willfully ignorant. It's a term that you've coined, because I like the reality is I like the way it feels, and I wasn't willing to do the work.
I wasn't willing to be honest. Yeah, that's where, like, a lot of the AA literature I do agree with, and it is very helpful. You know, the open-mindedness, honesty, and willingness. Those are instrumental in change, in any change, whether you're an addict or not. And that's a lot of people who go through the programs. They believe that this would be beneficial for most people living today, whether they fucking drink, smoke, or do nothing. You know, this would be helpful for most people. And I believe personally that my addiction stems from a belief, an unconscious belief of not enoughness. That I am not enough. That without this external source, I cannot get this job done. And if I trace back and I really reflect I encourage anybody to do, don't just take anybody's words as the gospel. But as I trace back and realize all the times that I ever was using, most of the times that I can really pinpoint that I was using, I was trying to stay awake. I was trying to have confidence. I was trying to be more creative. I was trying to plug this hole inside of myself that I felt was empty, that I mind fucked myself. You know, I was programmed to feel like I wasn't enough. In today's society and marketing and all these things, they're always trying to plug that hole. Pause. They're always trying to make you buy. You know, you need this thing to make your life a little better. You make this thing.
And they do that by selling you on this idea that there's some sort of deficit in your life. For beauty products, for whatever.
New shoes at school.
You don't look good. Your face is jacked up, so you put this cream on.
Yeah.
You know, you're poor, then, invest in this. It's usually aimed at making you feel bad about something. Therefore, you need this to solve that problem that you didn't know you had.
They don't teach you how to use your own mind. They don't teach you how to think for yourself.
I know my face was all jacked up.
Yeah, you look fucked.
It's all jacked up, man.
Yeah. But seriously, I don't know, man. At the end of the day, wake up. You've got a choice in the matter. That's all I have to do. I gotta wake the fuck up. Sometimes I like scrolling, man. Sometimes I take it a little too far down a rabbit hole about aliens. Wake up.
That can happen. That can happen. But the honesty, open-minded. It was interesting. I had a conversation at work about that, and I shared a conversation you and I had some time ago about honesty. I'm like, there's no lie that can exist that you first didn't tell yourself.
Fire.
Because I'm like, I can't lie. Like, I remember a time I was lying about ridiculous. You eat that last cookie? No, wasn't me. Did you shrink my sweater in the dryer? No. What are you talking about? What do you mean? Clint, there's all this white shit, honey. What are you talking about? This white stuff on my nose. Man, get out of here. The lie, I didn't just lie. I had to lie to myself first.
Yeah.
Right? I had to lie to myself first.
I can make this work.
And it just become, whatever it is, that this is, A, it's not a problem, right?
Yeah.
That I got it covered on
I
some
can make
level.
this work.
You know, that this will happen.
This is helping me.
You know, this is just don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. You know, and it becomes such a force of habit that you become so alienated from yourself, right? Because I was talking about integration, right? You know, between my spiritual principles and my character and who I are, and when those things are aligned, I feel at best. I feel plugged into my God, right?
Yeah.
Plugged into the source,
Yeah.
right?
True to self.
For lack of better. And when I start to lie, right? Because honesty is a spiritual principle. I start to get out of disline. I get disaligned with those things, and whatever it is, it starts with some level of dishonesty, or I'm not willing to be honest about myself.
Not being true to yourself.
You know,
That's super funny.
right?
Last night, that's the last thing I read before I went to sleep. With the quote of, "Whatsoever you do, be true to thyself." Whatever.
To thine own self be true.
That's it. That's the quote.
Boom. That's right.
But yeah, that's where it starts. As soon as you
that
know when you're bullshitting, and it's painful, and it's a slight discomfort when you know you're bullshitting. And even now on the other side of the fence, now that I have some time away from the chaos that is active addiction, I know when I'm bullshitting, dude. I know when it could be little. I know when I should go to sleep, or I should get up, or I should I know I'm fucking wrong. I'm arguing for no reason. You know what I mean?
Just to be right.
Yeah.
I should get up, right? And when you end up sleeping later and later, then you're like, oh God, I feel bad because you're out of alignment.
When you surrender and you just get up, or you fucking say, okay, I'm wrong, I'm sorry. That's where the miracle happens. In literal, smaller sense of miracle, but that's where you have that good communication. That's where you get up and you get that thing done that you wanted to do, and you have a good day, or you go to sleep early, and your next day you wake up, whatever, man. That's where it is, when you just surrender to yourself.
I loved it because that was a topic I had in group. But every miracle, right, brings you close to God. And sometimes because we've gotten so far away from ourselves and God, that we need these big miracles. We need somebody to come down from the heavens, and then we'd be like, oh my God, it's a miracle. And then in that moment, that, oh my God, it's a miracle, you're like, that there's something else.
Yeah.
You know it.
Yeah.
But how about the little miracles when you're able to recognize that and come back in alignment? Yeah. Isn't that just as much of it? If you don't get out of line, because again, my behaviors, my conditioned thinking patterns that we started talking about had gotten me so far afield from myself, from my family, from the people that love me, from anybody, and most importantly from myself and away from God.
Yeah.
That I thought it was so much. I was wrong. It was just like in the Bible, Adam and Eve are covering up. Now God he can't possibly see me. I need to cover up because I can't. I've gone too far. I can't be helped. How arrogant is for me to tell God that, right? That you could forgive these other people, but you can't forgive me. Like, what kind of a slap in the face? How ungrateful is that? I'm like, no, it didn't happen for me, right? But that's the miracle, right? We look at these miracles, these big things that happen. I'm here to tell you, miracles happen on small levels all the time. Because anything that can kind of realign us with our spirit and who we are, that's a miracle. Yeah. And again, I think it's gotten we've gotten so far afield from ourselves that we need those big miracles. Like, because I've often said, if God could just come down, tap me in the shoulder, and say, Clint, it's me.
That way.
That way. But
wake up.
Every time I start thinking that, by the way, it comes up in my devotional. Blessed are they that believe and have not seen. Because I think it's that Thomas, or forgive me, some of you guys probably know the Bible better than me out there, but I think it's Thomas walking along, talking like, well, listen, how cool was it you guys got to walk with God? So you knew him, you knew Jesus and that kind of thing. Now, interesting enough, there were times they even did walk with him and they doubted, right? But then that's when they say, blessed are they that believe and have not seen, right? Because that's when you're tested. You don't have anything unless it's tested, right? How do you know you have anything if it's not a test. It's easy, easy to be grateful.
Truth stands the test of time.
Yeah, it's easy to be grateful when it's going well. But until it's tested, am I really grateful? Am I good time? Like my mom used to say, like the good time Charlies. You're only there for the good times. You only want God for the blessings. This, that, and the other thing. Listen, I had a client of mine, and I shared this with a really good special friend of mine. He said, the world's rejections are God's protections.
That's right.
I'm like, that's a bar.
Right.
I'm like, do you mind if I steal that? And so, yeah, we have to kind of start to look at even things. And if you can, that's where we don't get out of disalignment, right? It's in disalignment that I start to make poor choices. It's in disalignment that I start to lose faith, right? But it's in alignment that I've realized that heaven and earth, it's all one. There is no separation
Heaven is now.
between heaven and earth. It's right now.
The devil's a lie.
Devil's a lie. Just repeat it again.
This is my hype, man. Look, man.
Devil's a lie.
Anything else?
Sometimes.
You got anything else? No, let's just get it out.
No, I'm good now. It's just, I think 3 times would be excessive.
Oh.
I think 3 times
Oh, okay. All right, we love you. We thank you for being here. This is the Dream on Purpose podcast. I'm Cannon Wagner.
We love you guys.
Who the fuck are you?
Oh, hey, I'm Clint.
Clint who, man?
I'm Dr. Clint Stankiewicz. We Dream on Purpose.
I love you. Goodbye.